All right, today we've got a story for you that honestly sounds like it's straight out of a modern fable. It's all about rivalry, a deep mystery, and a secret that is, well, it's just plain bizarre. Let's dive into the tale of the two tacos. So let me start by asking you this. What if the one person you saw as your greatest rival was actually the key to your success? I mean, really think about that. Keep that question in your back pocket because it is everything in this story. Okay, so picture this. A super busy city corner. On one side, you've got the El Toro taco truck, run by a guy named Miguel. And directly opposite, you've got La Luna, run by Jorge. For 10 whole years, these two were locked in this silent, bitter war. They were constantly trying to undercut each other on price, and they hadn't said a single word to each other in a decade. A decade!
But here's where it gets weird. There was this mystery that just hung over both of them, a question they got from customers all the time. No matter what they did, what they changed, people would come up and ask, "Hey, why do your tacos taste exactly the same as that guy's across the street?" You can just imagine, right? That one question fueled a whole decade of pure paranoia. Both Miguel and Jorge were guarding their so-called secret family recipes like they were nuclear launch codes. Each guy was 100% convinced the other was a spy, somehow stealing their ingredients. It was like a little culinary Cold War right there on that street corner. And then things finally exploded. A local food critic drops this totally scathing review. And the review didn't just say the tacos were similar, it basically accused them of faking the whole rivalry. The critic wrote, "They must be sharing a kitchen." To them, that wasn't just a bad review, it was an attack on their honor. That was it, the final straw. So, of course, both of them go into full-on investigation mode. They're desperate to find the mole, right? They're checking every single supplier, going through every invoice, and they find nothing. Absolutely nothing. Their supply chains were completely separate. There was no spy, there was no leak. And suddenly, the mystery just got a whole lot deeper. So, that leaves us with the big question, right? If it wasn't the ingredients, not the salsa, not the meat, not the spices, then what in the world was their secret?
Okay, let's solve this thing. You ready? First thing you need to know, the secret wasn't a recipe.
And, like they both discovered the hard way, it wasn't a stolen ingredient either. Turns out, after a decade of accusing each other of being master food spies, both of them were totally innocent.
The secret, this invisible thing that connected these two rivals without them having a clue, it was the fuel.
And here is the absolute craziest part of this whole story. It turns out both trucks were unknowingly and, illegally tapping into the same abandoned vintage propane line buried under the street. And this old line had this stuff in it, this aged mineral residue. When that propane was burned, the residue acted like a natural smoker, infusing everything they cooked with this unbelievable smoky flavor that nobody could ever replicate.
And get this, they were sharing this secret fuel source for the entire 10 years they were supposed to be bitter enemies. Incredible.
So, how did they find out? Well, a city construction crew eventually found the illegal tap. And of course, they shut the whole line down. And just like that, poof, the magic was gone. Overnight, both trucks went from selling these incredible tacos to just regular tacos.
And what happened next was fast. I mean, unbelievably fast. The second that unique flavor disappeared, the whole reason for their fight just vanished with it. This shared disaster led to their first actual conversation in 10 years. And from there, they formed a partnership in 1 week. And this is the key. The fighting stopped because they both had this huge, humbling moment of clarity. They realized, wait a minute, I'm not a secret culinary genius, and he's not a thief. They were both just lucky, incredibly, accidentally lucky. That realization was the turning point. For the first time in a decade, Miguel walks across that street, but he's not angry this time. He's just defeated, maybe. And he asks Jorge this one simple question that changed everything. So, what do we do now? And what they did next is actually pretty awesome. They decided, hey, let's merge. They combined all their knowledge, all their experience. They sold off both of their old trucks, pooled all their money, and built a brand new permanent restaurant. And they built it right there, on that same corner where they'd been rivals for so long. And in what has to be the most perfect tribute to their insane history, they gave their new place the only name that could possibly work, the Shared Secret.
So their whole story really leaves you with something to think about, doesn't it? I mean, Miguel and Jorge spent 10 years at war with the one and only person on Earth who knew exactly what they were going through every single day. It kind of makes you wonder, maybe, just maybe, your biggest rival is actually the one person who understands you the best?